everyone, my name is Armia, and today we are checking out SCP, specifically the video, A Modern Introduction to the SCP Foundation. Yeah, I know, some of you might be like, but Armia, didn't we vote for the Amazing Digital Circus to be the next thing? And yes, you did, but I had a little bit of extra energy, so I decided, hey, why not just do one of these as a little bonus thing for all of my lovely supporters. Ah. Yeah, I just felt like it, especially because I really like the vibes of Hunter the Parenting and like sort of the horror sections of that, right? And SCP and Hunter the Parenting, or SCP and World of Darkness, if we're honest, has a lot of the same vibes. So I figured, hey, why not just take that opportunity and continue on with these. Now, there's also going to be a TADC video soon, so if you guys are looking forward to the second episode of The Amazing Digital Circus, don't worry, I'm reacting to that one as well. Alright, let's get into it, shall we? Alrighty, let's begin.
So, you stumbled upon or heard about a thing called SCP.
Yeah, I've actually played it.
This guide has all the information you need to know about what the SCP Foundation is and what it has to offer you. Think of it as the ultimate primer to the universe, and the wiki as it is and should be seen today.
It's very interesting, by the way, because I'm somewhat familiar with the SCP universe. I have played some of the games. I've done a little bit of reading, a little bit of writing as well. But most of my knowledge is from, I want to say like 5 years ago, or even more. So I imagine quite a lot has changed since then. So, like, I'm curious to see what the differences are between what my memory gives compared to what it is today.
This guide is split up into 3 sections, and they are as follows. Number 1, the basics. An introduction to the SCP Foundation and Wiki, covering the SCP format, object classes, universe lore about the Foundation, and important vocabulary, and why it all matters. Number 2, in-universe elements. This covers some background information and a lot of commonly used terms that might leave a new reader lost or confused.
Right.
Number 3, things to read and do. A tour of the entire SCP universe, covering all modes of writing and different kinds of pieces that you can read. From -Js to EXs, 001 proposals to groups of interest, tales, and canons. There's a lot more than just the SCP series. Okay, let's get started. The basics. Operating clandestine and worldwide, the Foundation operates beyond jurisdiction, empowered and entrusted by every major national government with the task of containing anomalous objects, entities, and phenomena. These anomalies pose a significant threat to global security by threatening either physical or psychological harm.
This is one of the things, by the way, that I find very interesting in the SCP universe. Like the idea that the Foundation, apparently, we don't know that much about the Foundation as far as I'm aware, but apparently every single government is okay with like the Foundation just doing its own thing and dealing with anomalies, which, if you know anything about geopolitics, is not strictly realistic, and it makes me wonder if there's not some more stuff going on there. Because, let's be honest, let's say you go to any given major national power in the current day, or even 100 years ago, and you tell them, hey, I have these like weird creatures that we don't know like would happen if we experiment with them. 99% of them are going to start experimenting with them or want to control them, right, for their own safety or to use against their enemies or whatever, which I'm not going to lie, I wonder if that's going to come up in the SCP files as a more broad thing, because I quite like the idea of there being this sort of shadow war where the Foundation is this independent actor, a supranational actor, but who does not follow any other nation. Meanwhile, like, the CIA and, like, the KGB and, like, whatever the Chinese have are, like, fighting them. Meanwhile, there's also, like, anomaly stuff going on. I'm not sure if that's, like, a thing, but I kind of hope it is.
Introduction. The SCP Foundation is a collaborative writing platform centering around a fictional foundation, a scientific and military organization that seeks to protect humanity and the status quo by locating and containing anomalies, objects, life forms, events, locations, concepts, creations, and phenomena that, in one way or another, violate natural law.
There's another question, very interesting question that I think you could absolutely talk about with the SCP Foundation. What is natural law, right? Like, for example, in this kind of goes back into, like, World of Darkness. For those who don't know, in World of Darkness, natural law is dictated by the consensus. Basically, whatever people believe should work, works. Planes fly because we think they ought to, right? Gravity exists because we figure that just makes sense. Now, in the same way, in a certain way, if you extrapolate SCP into World of Darkness, SCP could easily be a wing of the technocracy doing terranorming and making sure, you know, the laws of the universe as they dictate them are not violated. But that's the thing. We don't know everything to know about natural law, right? And as far as we know, some of these things that are being contained might just be natural phenomena that we don't fully understand yet, which I think is also a really interesting philosophical question of, like, at what point does it become a danger, right? Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense.
On the SCP Wiki, authors tell stories and explore ideas within this urban fantasy science fiction universe, creating rich pieces of writing that take place in a world where the anomalous exists and how people and organizations interact with them. These articles may showcase the different types of phenomena that might exist in this universe,
Right?
the SCPs themselves, or tell compelling narratives about life and interactions within the SCP world. Tales,
It is a really
stories, and
interesting
groups of
setting.
interest formats. The central focus of the SCP Wiki is the SCP file, commonly referred to as just an SCP. It is a set of in-universe technical documentation supposedly compiled by the Foundation in an effort to understand, analyze, experiment with, and most importantly, contain the anomaly. The SCP
Right.
file is, in effect, a form of constrained writing, an immersive way to tell a story about the nature and history of an anomalous object or entity, whether directly or by hinting at some greater idea.
I think that's one of the things that SCP is very, very good at. And I keep drawing parallels with World of Darkness because there's a lot of parallels. Having that sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Having that mystery, right? Having things be uncertain and unclear actually helps a lot in telling stories. I think a lot of novice writers have a tendency to be like, no, I want to explain everything. And that's not necessary. It can be really cool to have a lot of mystery and potential in a setting. And I think that's it. SCP just has an enormous amount of potential, which I'm really, really interested in and interested in exploring. Oh, I'm excited. Sorry.
Each SCP is given a unique serial number or designation. And on the wiki, you can browse SCPs with designations ranging from 1 to 3,999. They are organized into 4 numerical series. Series 1, SCP-1 through to 999.
Right.
Series 1 was written from 2007 to 2011.
It's crazy to think about it. It's been
Series 2,
almost 20 years now.
SCP-1000 through to SCP-1999. Series 2 was written from 2011 to 2013.
Yeah, I think we get it.
Series 3, SCP-2000 through to SCP-2999. Series 3 was written from 2013 to 2017.
I'm just gonna...
The SCP
we get it, like the 4 different
An
series.
SCP file has a very specific format that, in general, must be strictly adhered to. SCPs are the backbone of the entire franchise. These documents are the set pieces of the universe, showcasing its tone, stories, and possibilities. The basic format of an SCP is as follows. Item number, SCP hyphen, then the number. Object class, then a category name. Special containment procedure.
I do hope we get to see what the different category names are, because I remember some of them. I remember like Thormiel and like, what else is there? Keita, and then like a few others like that. I do wonder if those have changed over the years.
Then a detailed summary of all specific means needed to make sure the anomaly is safely contained. Description. Then a technically written documentation of all things that the anomaly is, does, and can do.
Right.
And finally, supplements. Optional additional files added onto the base document.
Okay. You know, funny thing is, I've actually considered writing an SCP about myself. Because technically, like, the bar, right, in lore, is this weird space that you open a door, and then the bar replaces that door. You walk into the bar, you are there for a while, and then you can leave. Which is very anomalous in nature. It's very SCP coded, right? And I think that's something that would be fun to explore a little bit. I do think, personally, for me, my favorite SCPs are not the world killers. They are not the dangerous and horrifying. It's just the weird. Like, if I remember correctly, there's a pizza box that just has infinite pizza. Like, that's weird, and it doesn't make sense, but it's also not inherently, like, evil or whatever.
He is given an object class based on the degree of containment.
Yeah, here we go.
Here are the primary object classes. Safe. The anomaly can be contained by simply leaving it alone. No special procedures, methods, or events are necessary to keep it from damaging the world. This does not necessarily mean it's not dangerous. A safe class object can be world-threatening if not contained, but it's just really easy to contain them.
I remember a lot of people got confused about this, because when you say safe, obviously people have the association of, oh, it's not dangerous. Which, I remember there was some discussion about changing this back in the day. I don't know what actually came of that.
Some notable examples of safe class SCPs are SCP-1981, SCP-2579, SCP-993, SCP-1425, and SCP-3039. All examples will be in the video description.
Okay.
Next, Euclid. The anomaly is inherently unpredictable or requires some amount of special effort to be contained. You're not quite sure what will happen if you leave it alone, and it might be a little bit more complex than a safe class entity, object, or phenomenon.
Right.
Some notable examples of Euclid class SCPs are SCP-3008, SCP-426.
I think the IKEA is like, isn't that the infinite one? Where like, if you go into the IKEA, it's just infinite. Like, you just can't get out of it anymore, or something like that.
SCP-1171, SCP-3001, and SCP-1609. And finally, Keter. These SCPs are really difficult to contain, requiring a huge expenditure of resources or extensively complex containment procedures. The most dangerous of phenomena are classed as Keter, often, but not always, posing an existential threat to humanity, the world, or universal structure itself. Some notable examples of Keter-class SCPs are SCP-1739, SCP-231, SCP-2935, SCP-2293, and SCP-3200. In addition, there are a number of esoteric and
I think Keter is an interesting one, and I seem to remember there was another one where where it's like impossible to contain, like a step above Keta. But maybe I'm misremembering that.
Secondary classes that are used much less than the big three that I just mentioned, but still serve important purposes.
Here's
This is a
Thaumiel.
very rare object class only known to the highest levels of the Foundation. In essence, Thaumiel class objects are anti-Keter. They are used in the containment or counteracting of other SCPs. They act as powerful tools to be used by the Foundation, which normally rarely uses anomalies. Some notable examples of Thaumiel class SCPs are SCP-2000, SCP-2003, SCP-3000, SCP-179.
I don't know any of these, unfortunately.
SCP-3031. And finally, neutralized. It used to be anomalous, now it's not. Maybe it just stopped working on its own. Maybe someone accidentally or purposefully destroyed it. Either way, it no longer has functional anomalous properties. Some notable examples of neutralized class SCPs are SCP-1470, SCP-2682, SCP-3519, SCP-1762, and SCP-2420.
Right. I really do seem to remember like there was another one as well, but that might have just been... That might have been in the very early years or something, that they just like, you know, somebody just threw that in there.
I'm gonna stop watching this guide now and start diving into the wiki. This is a good time to do so. But be sure to finish this guide if you're unsure of anything. Maybe you can pick
We'll just
one
continue,
from
yeah.
the description and then follow the cross-links and navigation in the article. Maybe you can go to a series page. I highly recommend series 2 and 3, and just click on one with an intriguing title. Or you could roll the dice and press random SCP. One of the best ways to learn about the Foundation is to discover for yourself all the genres, emotions, and ideas it can evoke, to keep that sense of mystery and gritty realism.
I think that's one of the very cool things about SCP as a project, is that it's inherently super collaborative, right? Like everybody... Like SCP is at this point probably about, oh god, who knows how many people that have worked on it, right? It's a bunch of writers and administrators and other artists that have created something. I think that's really cool, and it's something that I find inherently kind of charming, and something that I really like about people coming together and just creating for the sake of creation, you know, not to like make a quick buck or anything like that. No, it's just because of the love of creation. And like you might get money out of that, you know, you might get rewarded in some way, but that's not the point. And I like that. I like that a lot.
There's still a lot to learn about the culture and vocabulary and universe of the site.
Of
You can
course.
find out and learn by yourself just by reading as much as you can. Playing it by ear, it's pretty fun that way. Or if you'd like to get a better handle on everything that's going on and a few more ways to drop you into the community, stay tuned. I still have a lot to show you. Next up, in-universe elements. Foundation structure and protocol. Security clearance represents how much information about an object you're allowed to know. If you've read through an SCP or two, you're bound to have seen these. Data expunged, redacted, or the text completely blacked out. These keywords are common hallmarks and tools of narrative of the SCP Wiki, signifying that the information has been classified to a higher clearance or has been cleansed completely. It adds an element of horror through absence that is classic to the SCP fandom. For a great example of how security clearance levels can be used, read SCP-2317. There are also many types of workers in the Foundation. Among them, we have containment specialists,
Here we go.
and security
This is something I'm interested
response
in.
officers. There are field agents who are out in the world undercover, looking for signs of anomalous activity, and mobile task forces, special units that are assigned to carry out certain dangerous jobs. The task forces document contains a list of mobile task forces along with their associated SCPs.
I remember in the multiplayer game there was like D-class researchers, like regular security, mobile task forces. It was also like the chaos guys, but I don't know how canon they are. That might have just been like one of those game things more than anything else.
The Foundation is usually thought of as a far-reaching organization,
Mm-hmm.
and so their bases are found across the globe, and sometimes outside of it. These bases can be sites or areas. For more information, read Secure Facilities Locations. The leaders of individual areas or sites are high-ranking Level 4 researchers known as Site Directors. There are few in the Foundation that rank higher than Site Director, and they are the O5 Council, the ultimate leaders of the entire Foundation. The Overseer Council, abbreviated to O5, is a group of 13 people who manage all Foundation operations worldwide and have complete access to all information.
Which, needless to say, creates a lot of interesting intrigue, right? Like, you could, like, I mentioned this earlier, but you could absolutely tell, like, a spy story. Like, imagine, like a, let's say CIA, and like a CIA operative finding out about the Foundation, and then, like, trying to, like, warn the rest of his organization, but then finds out there's, like, other stuff going on. Like, I don't know. You can have interesting stories there. I think that's kind of cool, and that's not even, and that's even without like the SCPs themselves, which can be absolutely fascinating. And I love that stuff. I love that stuff so much. I get really excited about this because there's so much potential, and it's fantastic.
Redacted or not, their identities are classified for safety, and they are only referred to by their ID, 051 through 13. In addition, some versions of canon also include the existence of an administrator, the creator of the Foundation. Finally, one of the most interesting parts of the
question
Foundation
is, who is the
are
administrator?
D-Class personnel, or Class Ds. The canon around D-Class personnel helps showcase the colder and more morally gray side of the Foundation.
Yeah.
In order to experiment with and contain SCPs, the Foundation needs lab rats to test things with, the D-Class. Oftentimes, they are recruited from death row or the prison population, serving as expendable personnel that are used to handle hazardous anomalies.
Okay, so that hasn't changed, because, like, I heard from some of my friends that apparently D-classes are very contested from, like, a law standpoint as to how the interpretation is. But it being, like, death row, or other prisoners, or perhaps people who got a little bit too, who knew a little bit too much about the Foundation, you know, and had to be disappeared. Makes sense to me, you know, disappeared class.
In the early days of the site, a common headcanon was that all D-Class were executed at the end of the month. However, this idea has gone out of fashion as the site has evolved. For more interesting stories about Class D personnel, try reading entries from the D-Class contest. Terms to know. The SCP Wiki has created a wide set of terminology and new innovations, inventing concepts that are unique to the premise of the site and found nearly nowhere else in literature. You may want to know these terms before you dive in. Anomalous classifications. Mimetic, or meme.
It's funny that he says it's found nowhere else in literature, because that's not really true. Mimetic, I mean, I'm sure he's going to get into it, the specifics, but mimetic is definitely something you find in other literature.
Meme is any unit of information that can spread and transfer itself throughout society. Mimetic effects deal with how the brain understands and reacts to media. It is a piece of data in the subject's mind that has an anomalous effect on that subject's physical or mental state that is spread when someone else becomes aware of the same information.
Funnily enough, that is kind of what Metal Gear Rising is all about, like the memes, Jack. Yeah, that's kind of the point. Like, I know that game is kind of, well, very meme-y, but that's kind of the point, right? That there's these sort of effects that can spread, almost like a virus. And I think it's very interesting.
In particular, anomalous mimetic agents are bits of hazardous information that are like a mental virus, triggering anomalous reactions in people who are exposed to them.
I remember there was a I don't know if it's memetic or anti-memetic, but I remember there was a very interesting story about a researcher who, whenever they went into like a box where nothing else could reach them, they would know about this other thing that just hates people knowing about it, effectively. So that might be anti-memetic. And then whenever they come out, they take like forgetting drugs, right, to protect themselves. And I remember there was some stuff about it possibly like destroying the world or something. I don't remember the specifics. I need to find that story again because it was interesting.
Memetic or anti-meme. An anti-meme is the opposite of a meme. It has self-censoring properties. Anomalous anti-memes are perfectly mentally camouflaged, whether by making you unable to hold your perception of one in your short-term memory or making you unable to comprehend the concept of its existence. Cognitohazard. A cognitohazard is something that is dangerous when we perceive it with one of the 5 senses. For example, a sound that causes you to bleed from every pore, or a smell that causes you to go insane.
Yeah, which is pretty scary.
Are a subset of cognitohazards, as in order to process the information, you have to sense it. Infohazard.
That's one of those things like, how do you deal with that, right? Because you have to sense it, so you can read about it, right? And you can read about a cognitohazard, no problem, but like sensing it gets you in trouble. I think that's really interesting.
Infohazards are anomalous effects that trigger when the SCP is described, referred to, or acknowledged. You don't even have to sense the thing to be affected by an infohazard. You just have to know that it exists. It affects data written about the anomaly and people that are made aware of the existence of the effect.
Which is also pretty cool.
Or reality bender.
Oh, okay.
An ontokinetic being can manipulate the laws of reality, magic, through anomalous means.
So, since he mentions magic, this is actually what the mages in World of Darkness are. I know I keep going back to World of Darkness, but seriously, you could literally just take all of SCP and just plop it right into the World of Darkness, and it would probably fit like 99% of the time. Which is kind of cool, I won't lie. But yeah, like that's basically what a mage is.
Groups of interest contain and study reality benders, often in unethical ways, creating some moral crises for the Foundation. Anart, or an artist. Anart is short for anomalous art. Many people and groups aware of the existence of reality-breaking phenomena choose to explore it by creating often surrealist art with normal properties.
Wait, that's super cool.
An artists.
Wait, that is super cool. I want to see more about an artist. That's cool. That's a really cool idea, like anomalous surrealist art. I'm on board with this.
Narrativic or pataphysical. A narrativic anomaly manifests itself within works of fiction, often affecting the content of the work involved by creating characters, changing the setting, or blurring the line between fiction and the reality.
So something like The King in Yellow, for example, I imagine, would count as a narrativic classification. Okay.
The pataphorical or pataphysical SCP explores narrativic anomalies using the wiki itself as the narrative. It explores the idea of characters we write on the website attempting to communicate and manipulate us, and being aware of things on the website like author pages, deletions, and discussion forums.
Ooh.
Technology and engineering.
I do like the idea of like fourth wall breaking with the narrativic stuff, where like it knows it's in a story and tries to break out of that story. That's cool.
Scranton Reality Anchor. Scranton Reality Anchors are technological devices used by the Foundation to essentially regulate consensus reality. They cancel out or prevent the effect.
Wait, hold on. He just literally used the term consensus reality. Are we sure it's not just straight up World of Darkness? Like, that's just... Are we sure this is not just like a wing of the technocracy? Are we sure? Because this The similarities are just very similar, and it's like, my goodness.
reality-bending entities and anchor down areas where the level of unreality is higher or lower than normal, counterbending it so that it matches the reality that we know and inhabit. Many contemporary authors have criticized the widespread use of SRAs as a catch-all for containing any type of structural or ontokinetic effect.
That's fair that you don't want to lean too heavily on an SRA, because otherwise it's just like, well, I have an anchor, so I win, sort of like logic, which is a bit boring.
Kill. The SRA back in the old days. Except the problem was worse. In its original form, it was a metal that blocked all mind-affecting or compulsive effects. People went crazy over it and started using it in all their containment procedures, and mistakenly thought it also blocked mimetic effects. Scranton's rewrite of the article added some nuances and drawbacks to it, and its usage had fallen by the wayside anyway, as people have become more innovative with writing.
Makes sense.
Humes, a unit of measurement that measures the intensity of reality present in an area. Crucial to understand.
Before we get into Humes more directly, I think it could be very interesting to talk about like an early form of Scranton reality anchors in the world, right? Like earlier technology and how that evolved within the Foundation. And how old is the Foundation? Was it formed 5 years ago? 10 years ago? 100 years ago? Like, what are we talking about there? I think that's interesting.
Understanding how SRAs and other technologies work. They are useful in quantifying how powerful reality-bending effects are relative to each other.
Makes sense.
K-class scenario, a term used to classify possible apocalypse scenarios, which the Foundation deals with on a daily basis when discussing the possible outcomes of dangerous effects or entities. The most common type is XK class, which describes a conventional destruction of the planet scenario. There are multiple minor ones whose exact definitions in canon are being argued over, including CK class, the restructuring of a reality, AK class, humanity goes crazy, SK class, the dominant species on Earth is no longer humans, and ZK class, reality universal failure. Amnestic.
ZK sounds terrifying. It's interesting to think about, like, you know, like you could have like an alien invasion effectively be one of these scenarios. It's oh my god, I realize, by the way, a lot of this stuff is very dry and like kind of laying the foundation for a lot of later stuff. But I figured starting with this was a good idea, just to kind of give ourselves the base that we need to kind of jump up, and then we can kind of go into, you know, SCP, whichever number we want to look into, and maybe discuss that specifically. I figure that seems like a good idea to me, right? Anyway, sorry, let's continue.
Mind wipe drugs. A narrative tool used by authors to explain A, how the Foundation is able to keep the masquerade of secrecy, and B, to create stories dealing with memory and knowledge. In universe, these are simply chemicals that erase a normal human's memory of some amount of time.
Which, by the way, those kind of chemicals do exist in real life, they just have a lot of side effects.
Has to recover an anomaly in the real world, or seriously messes up, these are used. Things to read and do.
Okay.
There's more to the wiki than the SCP series. In this section, I open the door to the other areas of the site that are part of the Foundation universe, as well as answer some common questions about key but confusing parts of the site. What is SCP-1? In the early days of the site, when the wiki was just getting started, there was some debate over what should be this sacred number. 1. Everyone agreed that it had to be incredibly written. Everyone agreed that it had to be big. Something deserving of the very first spot.
You know, I kind of disagree that it has to be big. I think SCP-1 could be just the first thing ever found. And that could be something very small and seemingly innocuous. but that then kind of, you know, SCP-1, oh, it's not too bad. SCP-2, hold on, this is like a bigger problem. SCP-3, SCP-4, and then all of a sudden, like you know, like the organization starts rolling. I think there's an argument to be made to do something like that. Now, obviously, as I'm sure it'll get touched on, there are a lot of different interpretations of SCP-1, but I don't think it needs to be this massive world-ending or world-changing thing. I wouldn't hate it if it was, but it doesn't have to be, in my opinion.
But nobody could agree who should do the honor of writing it.
Fair.
The answer? Everyone can write their own vision of SCP-1. Thus, the system of proposals, an author's individual idea of number 1. They vary wildly and contradict each other. On the number 1 hub page, it says that the, quote, real number 1 is so secret that a number of false ones have been created. This explanation allows there to be multiple self-contradictory number 1s. One of them could be the true one to you. Or maybe you want a couple to be canonical at the same time. Maybe all of them are fake. Maybe all of them are true. It all depends on your canon and how much you like a given proposal.
This is another thing, and I think this is a strength of both SCP and, again, World of Darkness, where if you don't like something, just, it's not canon. which is really nice. I really like that. I think it's a unique strength of this sort of horror mystery genre that both SCP and World of Darkness inhabit, that you can kind of just go like, oh, I like X thing, but I don't like Y thing, so Y thing doesn't exist. Like, that's fun. I like that. Or like, Y thing works in a different way. It's a good way to go.
In effect, SCP-1 proposals are canon builders. Each one sets the tone for a particular author's vision of the Foundation itself. Creating an SCP-1 proposal is as easy as writing it and then submitting it just like any other SCP. Although, unless you're incredibly experienced, it will most likely get rejected by the community and deleted. As of November 2017, 19 SCP-1 proposals have been successfully posted. Each one is the product of a lot of work and a high concept. Here are 6 of the 19. Number 1. Dr. Clef's proposal. The Foundation was established to prepare humanity for the rapture or apocalypse. SCP-1 is the angel guarding Eden. Number 2. Dr. Mann's proposal. The first and only natural anomaly was a spiral path in New York. A group of ambitious scientists experimented with reality using this as the thread and created every single other anomaly in the database.
Oh, this is interesting. This is sort of the, what's the word I'm looking for? This is the stalker route with the kind of cognitosphere, I think it's called. No, noosphere, that's what it's called. If you don't know about that, look up Stalker's story sometime. It's very interesting.
Number 3. S. Andrew Swan's proposal. The SCP Foundation is aware of its fictionality. They are currently discussing ways to kill their authors.
Wait, that's actually kind of... I kind of love this. That's hilarious. That's a great idea, Swan. That's a good one.
Number 4. Rojit's proposal. Keter-class anomalies are an inherent part of the universe and can be contained using each other. By releasing all Keter-class anomalies, the universe can be manually restructured.
That's scary.
Number 5. Twisted Gear's Cactus proposal. SCP-1 is one manifestation of the mechanical god worshipped by a clockwork cult, which wreaked havoc on the world before the military destroyed it.
Oh, this is just straight up the Mechanicus. I remember there was also an SCP-1 where it was like, there was a... where it was like the sun.
And finally, number 6. Kaladin's proposal. Humanity was originally a slave race whose suffering was harvested to create utopia on another planet. We escaped and then tried to cloak ourselves. The cloak failed, and our masters are trying to bring us
Also
home.
interesting.
It's my personal suggestion that you don't start with SCP-1. The proposals are usually quite complex and require some knowledge of Foundation lore, which is either played with, expanded on, or subverted. Read conventional SCPs before you take the number 1 deep dive. Special classifications -EX,
Oh boy.
-J, and -ARC. There are other types of documents that use the basic SCP format and style, but utilized in a different way. This allows different stories with more diverse tones and themes to be told. The SCP-EX classification designates an SCP that is no longer considered anomalous. It is explained. The object or phenomenon in question still exists. The Foundation has deemed it to be an acceptable part of consensus reality.
Oh yeah, so that was what I was talking about earlier with like the consensus. That's cool. I like that was considered. Okay.
Or it was a giant fake out, or it turned out to be just a new scientific discovery. An SCP-J is a joke SCP, a parody SCP in a sense. Joke SCPs are explicitly non-canon, using the SCP format to joke around or make fun of something for the benefit of the reader. They may riff on
J is a
in-universe
classic.
tropes like overwrought security, over-the-top containment, cold posting, or bad original characters. Or they may parody things like food poisoning, bad drivers, easily angered people, or that one movie. They may even make fun of the elements in the other popular SCP canons. Ultimately, a joke SCP is just a way to make the reader laugh. If a joke SCP is not well written and very funny, it'll be downvoted. And finally, we have SCP-ARC, archived SCPs. These are usually legacy pages from the very old days of the site, when standards were low and the mass edit had not been conducted yet. While most of these SCPs were deleted, some of them needed to have text archives due to their usage in other tales or still existing SCPs, or because they were historically important. ARCing is no longer in use since the opening of Series 2, 3, and 4. And you will most likely never need to read one of these. Tales.
I won't lie. The fact that he says you will most likely never need to read one of these, it instantly makes me want to read one of them. Not because they're like necessarily good or whatever, but just because like you don't need to look at this. Don't worry about it. And it's like, why not? Why can't I look at it? Go on.
Canons and collaborative logs. Tales are how the Foundation universe gets deepened and extended beyond the limits of the simple SCP file. It allows authors to tell stories where groups or people can interact with each other in the SCP universe, to expand on ideas already created in SCPs, or just, to write a prose. Some authors may also turn their tales into a series, usually if they have a cohesive idea in mind, or if it gets really popular.
Makes sense.
Notable series include There Is No Anti-Memetics Division.
Oh,
War.
I think the anti-memetics one is what I was talking about earlier. I think that's the one. I need to look into that.
The Lombardi Tales, Tales of Mr. Collector, and Pitch Haven. You can find Tales in the top-rated Tales archive as submissions to a themed contest or by trawling around and finding recommendations. You can also, as we'll soon learn, read the tales in a canon. A canon is your own set of assumptions about the tone, setting, and dynamic of the universe.
Right.
Each of the canons in the Canon Hub is a wildly different set of assumptions based off the baseline SCP Foundation. Think of them as mega tale hubs, or parallel universes, or self-contained cinematic universes for authors to play in. Here are 5 notable canons. Broken Masquerade, a world where the Foundation's existence is known by everyone. Resurrection, a deliberate attempt to resurrect the action-orientated SCP Dr. Crazy Days of Series 1, in which an MTF composed of anomalous humans is formed.
That sounds badass.
Third Law, a pulpy sci-fi paratech
Classic.
world dominated by the machinations of Prometheus Labs and Anderson Robotics. Rat's Nest. The military killed God, and the Foundation is covering it up. Reality is slowly unraveling and falling apart.
That's really cool and terrifying.
The Gulf. Small-scale, poignant series set in the southern United States, usually having a restful, mysterious feel, and featuring religious symbolism and unconventional types of media.
Okay.
A number of pages on the site are tagged as collaborative. Collaborative logs or pages can be edited and added to by anyone, although some quality oversight still exists. This is a good way to get your creative chops and contribute whilst not taking the plunge of writing an SCP. The 3 main collaborative pages exist as lists of mini SCPs, very small-scale items or phenomena that don't need to have a narrative, but still need to be unique, appropriate, and interesting. They are Log of Anomalous Items. The SCP Foundation has discovered a substantial number of items which are simply too useless to merit further attention. This document lists those items which have prompted some curiosity.
Okay.
Log of Extranormal Events. This page is to document anomalous events that have attracted the Foundation's interests, but occurred too briefly for the Foundation to secure or contain them. And finally, Log of Unexplained Locations. This page is to be devoted to the documentation of low-threat anomalous locations which have been discovered by the SCP Foundation over the years.
Right.
There are a number of other collaborative pages, usually SCP supplements or logs. Keep in mind that guidelines for contributions still apply though, and if your edition is deemed to be below standard, it'll probably be removed.
Makes sense.
Groups of interest.
Before we continue to groups of interest, I just want to talk a little bit about how I think it's really interesting that both World of Darkness and SCP kind of use a sort of almost impressionist style of writing, if that makes sense, where you get just enough information to kind of get like a rough idea of what the picture looks like. But the impression, the interpretation is down to the individual. I think that's fantastic, and it's something that I love in painting as well.
The Foundation isn't the only fish in the anomalous sea. Other organizations, collective, and groups exist that utilize or create paranormal phenomena for their own purposes. Some are associates of the Foundation, others are rivals to it. Many of them quietly pursue their own interests, while a great many of them fall on the lines of good and or evil. The vast majority simply have a goal in mind that's somewhere in between. Here are 7 notable groups of interest. Are We Cool Yet? A collection of artists, usually producing surreal and disturbing works of art. Their pieces are designed to have maximum impact and are usually lethal in some way.
Well, that's scary, but very neat.
Chaos Insurgency.
Okay, there they
The
are.
Foundation that uses terrorist means to steal and repurpose powerful anomalies to gain control over nations and conduct unethical experiments using them.
Admittedly, personally, I find it more interesting if they're a bit more grey, so I would look into the Chaos Insurgency and see, like, okay, what's the actual logic there? Because using terrorist means to steal and repurpose powerful anomalies to gain control over nations is, you know, that's pretty evil. But I always find it interesting to think about, okay, what is the logic? Like, why are they doing this sort of thing? You know?
The Church of the Broken God. A widespread cult believing in a clockwork god.
Ah, yeah.
Broken into pieces all over the world. Dr. Wondertainment. An individual or company that makes anomalous artifacts that are supposed to be children's toys.
Ooh.
The Serpent's Hand. A small organization headquartered in an interdimensional library, believing in anomalous rites and the normalization of the paranormal and magical.
Oh, that's an interesting one. I want to read more about them.
Marshall, Carter, and Dark. A corporation that buys and sells anomalous items for the benefit of the super rich.
As you do. Capitalism.
Global Occult Coalition, or the GOC. a massive military organization under control of the UN, using technology to destroy the extra-normal wherever they find it.
This is kind of where that CIA idea comes in. Okay, very neat.
Many groups also have their own form of documentation, similar to an SCP. On the wiki, they are called GOI formats, and they are stories told from a different perspective than the Foundation. For more information, visit the Groups of Interest page, as well as the ongoing Groups of Interest overview and guide on the SCP Declassified subreddit. Beyond the main site, you can find stories and SCPs to read even beyond the classifications and places I've already detailed. In this final section, I present other outlets of writing associated or tied to the SCP Wiki that you can also look into. Firstly, a great place for you to discover lesser known but very well written tales and SCPs are in the contest archive.
Okay.
For example, SCP-1000, 2000, and 3000 contests all have SCPs themed around urban legends, sci-fi, and horror, respectively. You have the Short Works contest and the D-Class contest mentioned earlier, and the
That all sounds
contest
wonderful.
for both tales and SCPs. Then there are the gigantic multi-part mobile task force contest and groups of interest contest, and then the dystopia and reimagining contest, and so forth. There's so much
stuff
to find. The Wanderer's Library is set in the mysterious, ancient, magical Library of the Serpent's Hand. It includes prose pieces and poetry set in the SCP universe.
Okay, I am definitely checking that out. This seems right up my alley.
But focused on evoking a sense of wonder, of the extraordinary and fantastical. Quote, a sense that there is a larger world beyond the one we know. In the world of the library, these wonders are hidden, but never truly far away. But never forget that this is a wilder world than our own, and it's never entirely safe, either. And finally, we have the international foreign SCP branches. There's French SCPs, Russian SCPs, Japanese SCPs,
oh, heck yeah.
and a whole bunch more. Each brand has their own set of SCPs, many of which have extremely creative and diverse ideas. If you're looking for more SCPs to read, this might be a place to find cool concepts. And if you don't know a foreign language, the main SCP-INT wiki hub has translations of some of them.
Well, definitely, if you guys have any SCPs that you want me to take a look at and react and whatever, please do tell me in the comments. Like, please do let me know. I can absolutely go for the most popular ones first and just kind of like get that basis going. But if you guys have any that is like, oh, you need to look at this one, Armia, please point it out to me, because there's a lot of them. And I'm sure there's plenty that people want me to take a look at, and I'd love to hear.
This was entirely written by Reddit user Modulum83.
Oh, thank you, Modulum83.
Classified subreddit. All links will be in the description. If you enjoyed it, give Modulum83 some praise in the comments section for writing something I couldn't write myself. I hope it answered most of your questions about who we are and what we do, and that it convinced you to take a dive and become part of the universe and the community.
It's pretty dang cool, I have to admit. Well, I think with that, we have arrived at the end of the video. Good lord, I did a lot of yapping in this one. Anyway, yes, let's go say hi to the members, shall we? Alrighty, thank you all very much for coming. I hope you all enjoyed. If you remember, you can see yourself scrolling in the background. I'm actually really excited about this. Like I said, this was kind of a foundational thing. I realize it might have been a bit dry. I realize it might have been a bit... It probably doesn't cover everything. I'm sure there's stuff missing. I'm sure there's stuff outdated, etc. But I figured it would be good to have a starting foundation to then build off on. If you have any SCPs you want to point out to me, if you have any corrections for the video that might have changed in the last few years, anything like that, do let me know. I will absolutely take a look. I will be reading through all your comments and looking into more SCP stuff for sure. And yeah, thank you very much for watching. And a very special thank you to our very important planets, Aku and Zane Caulfield, and of course Eddie Cute Puppy and Alex the DM over on Ko-Fi for your extra support. Thank you, and have a lovely rest of your day. Bye-bye!